Hey,
Hello.
I figured out why people can't join now. It's because
Really?
the other meeting. I'm gonna pull up. I gotta find the agenda. There we go. Cool, cool. Let me put it in the chat. I think Manu was gonna join too.
Hey, Manu.
Hey,
Hi, I
uh,
can't see.
say what?
Okay. Okay, yeah, I can see everything now.
Cool, cool. Let's get started. I think this is everyone for today. I'll ping Marwan just in case. I think he was going to join. So yeah, let's get started. I only have basically announcements. Manu, thank you so much for sticking with it with open tracing. As you know, that's merged. And then there was a huge configuration refactor to start using env config. I don't know how to pronounce that. So thank you to Rohan. Also, that was a big one that he had to stick with for 10
Ages.
plus days. Yeah, I think, yeah, for over 10 days, I think. So that was awesome too. Thank you. Thank you. And then my last announcement is issue number 617. This is about whether to keep or remove the wiki. Rob started a vote there. So far, we are 12 for removing and 4 against removing. The link to it is in the agenda, and I'm gonna keep the vote open until next week, until this time next week, and at which point we'll close the vote and either decide to keep it or remove it, sort of as a final step. That's it for me. I think, Carolyn, were you going to talk about problems with triaging, or was that mine? I don't remember who put that up.
That wasn't me.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to keep talking then. Lucky for all of you. So I think I've seen, I don't think anyone has said this, but I wanted to bring it up before, in case it becomes a problem. Do people feel like it's taking too long to get your PRs reviewed or to get discussions going on an issue? Has anyone felt that before or now? Yeah?
1 second. Okay. It really depends. I mean, I don't know like how pedantic we want things to be at the end of the day. That's where it boils down to. I usually am like, okay, even if it's 50% done, I'm fine with it, and then the next iteration. So that's something we have to talk through, like how much do we want it to get done.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if that's a good way of putting it.
I think it's fine. In terms of how much do we want to get done, are you kind of referring to overall or kind of day over day? Can you give some more detail there?
So, like with open census, when I was working, felt like pull to like where you would want to have like response statuses underneath, and it was really nice to like, okay, we just overall as of now get inside, and even then, like I found a couple of bugs later on, so I had to open up like a couple of other PRs later on to like as follow-ups. But if I would have to like include responses as well to the open census spans, then it would probably be extended for another month or so, just because I'm not working on it full time, you know. So that's where I'm a bit confused at.
Okay.
Specifically when it comes to topics you guys knew about better than, like for me it was just a research project. But when you land deep into the code.
Yeah. Well, I think all of us definitely want to have allow anyone to come in and, you know, go deep into the code or do something they've never done before. So it's kind of what I'm hearing is it would be nice. I think it would be nice to be able to get responses back faster. But maybe not necessarily always has to be like the complete response. Maybe just saying, yeah, why don't you try it? Or maybe if you were to break things up into a smaller PR, then that could get reviewed faster. But I know that's not always possible on the other hand, because with yours,
yep.
That was a huge, like you had to do everything kind of at once, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know like what's the right answer to it is, to be fair.
Yeah. So one thing the maintainers talked about, I think a couple weeks ago, maybe last week, was having this idea of a triager. Triager? I don't know how to pronounce it. But anyway, it was the idea taken from another open source project that some of us have worked on in the past. Just basically every week or every time period, someone would be responsible for going through every day or some kind of regular cadence, going through some of the issues, sort of the top or most active issues, and making sure that there's ongoing discussion there. And also doing some things like seeing if an issue was actually closed by a PR or was accidentally closed by a PR. And then also on the PR side, going through PRs and making sure that comments are being addressed, or in Manu, like in your case, if you push new code that already addressed some comments, to make sure that it was being followed up on. So you raised your hand. Go ahead before I keep blabbing. Oh, you like it? Okay. Yeah. So I think the big question that, in my mind at least, that I have is can one or both of those roles be done by someone who's not a maintainer, or do we think that it has to be maintainers?
I think it's very hard to do triage if you're not familiar with at least the bulk of the code base and who's working on what. And otherwise, you'd spend a lot of time, I think, hunting other people down and trying to be a middle person.
Okay. Alrighty. So maybe we should do that then. I feel like we have a lot of time zones too, which is nice. If we rotate time zones, so that, like Michal, you're I think 9 hours ahead of Pacific time.
Yep.
7 hours ahead of Central, etc. Math is hard, but maybe if we rotate time zones, we can kind of get like every week. How would I say this best? Every week, or if we do rotations on a different basis, we can get more coverage, I suppose. And we can make sure that obviously no one does it 2 weeks in a row, or however we end up doing it. I'm just using week as an example. So, yeah, go for it.
Another thought, too, is have any of you seen codetriage.com?
No.
It's basically a site where you can submit projects to it, and it will email you like one issue a day, and it has like some suggestions on like how you can help out on that issue, like maybe if the discussion's gone stale. And it's like what it does is really simple, but it's like, here, this is go and work on this thing, and so like just kind of incrementally, you can get a lot of activity. There's quite a few projects on there too. I know Buffalo's on there.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll paste the link in Slack.
Awesome. That sounds like it could be like it sounds like it'd be good for the contributors and maintainers to use. But is that also? Do you feel like that would also be good for folks who are new coming in?
I've used it on, when I was new to different projects, years and years ago, I used it on Rails, and it was just like, you kind of got a sense for what was being worked on. And, sometimes you get a really hairy issue and you just like, you can spend some time reading through it. And if you do take the time to just focus on that one issue, you can, I found that you can get to a place where you can make a contribution. So it's, I found it's been a pretty nice tool. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Yeah. And could you, in addition to the chat or instead of whatever you want, can you put an issue into the Athens repo? And like, I think at the very least, we should get it into docs, the getting started docs.
Yeah.
But yeah, if this thing can help us doing the triage so that we can keep existing issues and PRs going, even better.
Sounds good. I'll do that.
Cool. All right. So I think for the next steps, it sounds like we should at least start the triage with maintainers. We, the maintainers, will figure out, still in the open, but we'll figure out how to schedule this thing and what exactly the responsibilities are, and then make it on the docs. We'll put on docs like, here's what to expect from the triager and so forth. Does that sound cool with people?
I have one question about this though. I don't want this to encourage people, so if it's not their week, that they aren't doing some of these things too.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because it's not going to be like one person isn't always going to be able to handle everything. And I just want to make sure that like we're all, at least when we have time, just scanning through the backlog and giving it a shot every once in a while too.
Okay. Let me write some notes on the agenda then. And you guys can watch me with my concentrating face while I make typos. You can even watch my typos live too. I feel like maintainers should be doing triage at least to start. No maintainer should do triage 2 weeks. And then also maintainers not on triage should still be encouraged to help out. For example, so the example you gave, Carolyn, was if there's a lot of activity in a week, the triager might not be able to handle everything.
I think, at least for me, and I could be mutating what you all wanted to accomplish, I think that having a triager gives us a little safety net so that stuff doesn't fall through the cracks. But I would hate to see it become like one person a week is the only person who deals with things.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
So I'd rather it be like they know that we know at least once a day someone went through and tried to help with stuff. But it could be that if we're all busy and active, they don't have to do very much. They're just like that last line of defense to making us seem like a crappy project.
Okay. I like what you said. The goal is to have at least one person a day going through, keeping the heartbeat kind of thing, but it doesn't mean that they're the only line of defense.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna encode that here. Now that is my nerdiness. I'm gonna encode that, meaning I'm gonna write it down. Let's go through the project and keep its heartbeat alive. That is the bare minimum. We should still find a way to encourage / make sure that everyone still participates regularly as much as they can. Yeah. Did I miss anything in the doc? Okay. I'll move this stuff into an issue after this meeting so that we can keep it going. And I think probably out of the issue, I feel like we should come up with a way to publicize like at least the expectations. Like as a contributor, here's what you should expect from the triager at least, and then equivalent docs for the maintainers. Maybe even a schedule, or I don't know, something like that. Cool. All right. Oh yeah, and then Timothy, you're gonna put the issue in, right? Okay.
Yep.
Let me just, I'm gonna write down here. Timothy mentioned code triage as a possible tool for maintainers and also a good tool for people to get started. He's going to create. Sweet. Okay. Now for real, that's all of my blabbing. So Carolyn, you're up for the next item.
Excellent. Now we get to my babbling. I just wanted to, I talked about this just in Slack, and I wanted to make sure that everyone had a chance to see it and think about it, which was that at GopherCon, I got a lot of feedback basically from every single person I talked to that they had no clue what Athens was. And the name was very clearly getting in the way of people thinking about our project, wanting to contribute to it, understanding what it is, talking about it to other people. And then compounding that was that in the workshop that Aaron led, like just being able to describe Athens versus Proxy versus Olympus was extremely confusing for people. So I was just suggesting that we think about retiring the code names and coming up with names that indicate what the domain is for the project a bit better. So I threw out a couple of silly names. I do not recommend we put the word go in the name, but because it's trademarked, but I do thought like maybe we could use the word gopher because at least gets you somewhere, and then using go mods or packages or just something like that to kind of indicate what problem it is that this project solves. So I don't know the best way to like discuss this further. Maybe I could open up an issue and kind of do what Rob did and kind of make a pseudo poll inside of GitHub.
Yeah, I feel like, yes, I think absolutely. I'm trying to think through names here too, because it's fresh. Sounds like, well, we already have the GoMods organization in GitHub and gomods.io. And then,
I also have that on Twitter, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like some of the suggestions I threw out was like the GoMods proxy and the GoMods registry, or we had really cute domain Gopher packs, which at least implies packages or something like that. I don't know. Like, I don't know how important it is to separate between the proxy and whatever it is Olympus does, but like that's another problem. Whatever it is Olympus does is like a thing that I think I'm not the only person who puts it in that kind of bucket.
Yeah.
So there's almost like two naming problems, which is the project, and then do we need separate names for those two distinct pieces, or can they be brought together and just be distinguished by flags and configuration, essentially.
Wonder if we could have, we could retire Athens, and Athens, like we have GoMods/Athens in GitHub, and then it's confusing right now in my mind. It's like we've got Athens in GitHub, and then people call the proxy Athens, and then some people say Olympus, but like you just said, no one knows what that does. And I kind of feel like maybe what would be simple is to have GoMods.io, GoMods on Twitter, and GoMods organization on GitHub, and then just rename what's the Athens repo now. Maybe just rename that proxy, and then all the stuff that's Olympus now, maybe we could move that out into a new repo that's like a work in progress repo or something until we figure out what is it that we're going to do with Olympus itself. And then, Carolyn, like you said in there, I kind of feel like go for proxy and or go mods proxy. I'm kind of melding that with what Aaron said. We could say like, oh, it's the go mods proxy or it's the go for proxy, and then have a tagline for it.
Yeah, I really like the tagline. That'd be great to come up with something that we can consistently tell people.
Okay. We're kind of grandfathered in with go mods in the sense that we've got the org and the repo and nobody's complained yet. Maybe we cross that bridge if we come to it.
Yeah, talking to people at GopherCon, like as soon as you say Go Mods, you said Athens, they don't know what it is, but as soon as you say Go Mods, they at least had an idea of what it was, and I think that's a really helpful tag to have in there.
Okay.
So if I start an issue that just says, maybe we should call the project Go Mods instead of calling the project Athens, and then continue to call it the Go Mods proxy. I don't know, we can have a couple votes on how to just go about it, and then maybe come up with a tagline. I know this is silly, it's all branding, but it made it really hard for me to get people excited and join our project. So that's why I'm knitting on this.
No, I think it's good because you're not only talking about the names here, and at least to me, you're not only talking about the names, but you're actually pulling apart like what are the actual pieces that are going on. And I don't know, selfishly, I like that.
Okay. Later today, I'll make an issue then and link it in the Athens channel so that people can see it.
I'm going to just take a note here. Carolyn, lots of people at GopherCon had no idea what Athens is. Carolyn has ideas for names to signify what we do. We also have code names. I'm going to call them sub code names. Athens and Olympus. What are those for? And we retire those. And Carolyn is going to open an issue and start a combo in Athens. And then hopefully we can have a vote and get an issue. Aaron hopes.
Cool. All right. Sorry, I have to drop now. But
That's
thanks,
cool.
guys. Bye.
Thank you. See ya. All right. Let's see. Well, that's everything on the agenda. So let me tell a story. No, I'm just kidding. Does anyone have anything else they wanted to talk about? Cool.
I think we have a thing on some of the older meetings. Let me check. It's 30. No, yeah, the last meeting on August. It says package CDN removal was results.
Yeah, I'm gonna move that up.
We haven't discussed that.
Oh no, what did I do?
You deleted it.
There it is. All right. So issue 503, right?
503, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know the status of it, so I will just check very quickly. But we were talking about removing a CDN package, and I wasn't sure what was the main reason it was there. I wanted to hear your opinion, Aaron.
Module storage. Oh, I remember this. Yeah. Okay, I can give the background. I think my opinion might not matter so much because 5 people voted to kick it out and no one voted to keep it. So, but I'll give the background, and then yeah, that'll be at least a start. So back in the day, we had Athens. This is a confusing name again. We had Athens was the proxy. It was also the name of the project, but it's stupid. Anyway, the way that I'm using Athens here is like it's the proxy, right? It's the thing under CMD/proxy. So that was the thing that we have now, and you can run it and it will store your module code and metadata in disk or MongoDB or even on cloud storages. It just has storage drivers, and whichever one of those you choose to use is where it'll store the data. And then we had a pretty well-defined idea at the time of what Olympus was. And we still have Olympus code under CMD/Olympus, but we don't quite know exactly anymore like what we're gonna do with it. But anyway, then and now the point of it was we're gonna store code and module code and module metadata inside of CDNs. So that would be something like putting the code on Azure Blob Storage and then serving it behind Cloudflare, let's say. Or same thing, like putting it on Google Cloud Storage and serving it behind Google Cloud CDN, something like that, right? And then the point there was when Olympus gets a request from GoGet, it can, instead of serving it straight from Olympus's HTTP handlers, it can just redirect the GoGet tool to the CDN. And the CDN will have the 4 now, or almost, I think 5 endpoints now that are like for listing, getting the code at a version, getting the mod file at a version, getting the .info file for a version, getting the latest for that module. I think there's one more I'm missing. But all that will be static inside of a CDN. And so if Olympus just redirects the Go tool to that CDN location, then the Go tool will just be able to do requests direct on the CDN. And as a globally deployed system, if Olympus was globally deployed, that's way cheaper and way more reliable to do, instead of having thousands and thousands, maybe millions of servers deployed globally, all of which are basically just mirroring something that's in cloud storage anyway. So technically that was the goal of having a different package in the source code, because that package was intended to both store stuff in a CDN and then return not the data that's in the CDN, but a URL that Olympus can send back to the GoGet tool and say, hey, don't ask me anymore, redirect to this place, this CDN place, to get your stuff. So really the only difference, I think we've talked about this a few times before, this this big issue you brought up, Mikhail, where you summarized everything. We talked about like, hey, the CDN package and the storage package are really similar. There's really only one major difference is instead of returning the actual code and metadata, it's returning a redirect URL. So if there was a way to merge those two together, great. So the very last thing I'm going to say is I literally just clicked vote to kick CDN out because I feel like it's not really duplicated code because under the hood, the CDN package uses the storage package to do uploads. But I feel like they're two similar APIs. The APIs are too similar to keep both around, and we should really figure out a way to merge them together. So I feel like kicking the CDN out will be a forcing factor to do that. And that's it for me.
We still do redirect to CDN based on NNVAR. We have this base URL or something like that. I don't remember. But we have these NNVAR like shared between modules. But do you remember why the CDN package has URL per module? Was this like intended to have different URLs per different modules, different CDN providers or something like that?
Yeah. At the time, we were going to have different ones because we wanted to be able to have one Olympus server, one Olympus deployment with no specific environment variables, be able to redirect to multiple CDNs. And the short reason behind that is Olympus had this cloud replication protocol, which Mikhail, you're super familiar with because you helped design it. And the idea was if one cloud picked up source code for a module from GitHub, let's say, the other cloud could, instead of grabbing all the source code and all the metadata, it could literally just redirect over to the first cloud's CDN. And then maybe in the background, it could do the replication, but there wouldn't be that extra lag. So that's why we had that as kind of a flexible mechanism. But in retrospect, I'm not sure if we need that logic anymore. But I mean, if we do, like, we could figure out, I'm sure we can figure out a better way to do it. And that's more than just like build a brand new interface. And for now, I agree with you, Mikhail, like maybe we should just use the environment variable. That's what we need for now.
We have the concept of packages having both a storage URL, like where something, the canonical place where it is stored, and then also a secondary URL, like a CDN URL to access that same thing, or multiple potential serving URLs for a package sort of in the storage module or anything like that.
We don't, but that's really interesting. What would you see a use case for that?
Well, to be able to serve the CDN URL if necessary, or by default if it exists, but then, and potentially, like as it was mentioned, have multiple of them if you have maybe a primary, secondary, or different regions or something like that. I'm probably going off on a tangent here, but in Azure, for example, we have this concept of the blob storage, and we've got a URL for the stuff in our blob storage, but then our CDN is separate. So I guess in other places, I guess they're put together.
I think at one point, maybe it's still there, each implementation of storage like Azure or GCP or whatever had their own base URL, which is like this ugly thing. And then we have this NVAR, which if it's set, then the redirect is going there, which should be the CDN. And if it's not there, then it goes to this base URL set by storage, like a fallback.
That makes sense. Excellent.
Yeah.
We can make it like a list, maybe.
Okay. The idea of the secondary, I feel like I feel like that could actually be the primary is do, like you said, do a redirect. And the secondary could be just serve it out of the server, literally serve data. Maybe that. So, Mikhail, for now, it's been 27 days. Well, I just voted, but the comment for keeping and the voting comments are 27 days old. So I feel like we could probably call this vote closed without waiting any longer. Does anyone object to that? Okay. So let's do that. I'll first write this down in the agenda. A vote has been open for 27 days. 6 votes, including mine, which I just casted for removing, 0 for keeping. So let's say this. We're going to remove, and Mikhail, would you mind closing this and then opening a new one to remove and just reference this context?
Good first issue and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mikhail to close. Have a 3 open a new good first issue. Issue for doing the removal. And then reffing. Can't spell that. Cool. All right. But I wanted to also ask, there's not a ton of us here, but I was wondering, how do people feel that the GitHub voting is going? We've been doing that a lot. Is it hard to use, easy to use?
I think it's easy to use and maybe more transparent than a chat on Slack, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah. But at the same time, it makes our issues like bloated or.
Okay. Let's stick with it, and I'm going to put another item on the agenda for, let's say 2 weeks out, and then we'll see. I'm assuming we'll do a couple more GitHub votings in the next 2 weeks, and we'll just kind of see how does everybody feel about it. I was about to say I'll open another GitHub issue where we can vote whether to keep GitHub issues, but I'm not going to do that. So we'll just talk about it on Slack and in a meeting and see what people think. Cool. Anything else folks want to talk about? Good. All right. See everyone online and next time as well. Take care, everybody.
See ya.